Hey friends, hope you are having a thrilling Thursday. Today I am bringing you a video on how to cover these unsightly neckband seams, and I'm going to show you how to do it after the garment's already been constructed as well as before you construct the garment. Okay, so I'm going to start with the one that has already been constructed because it's already constructed, and ideally you would use some of the same fabric and make a strip of bias tape to, or it wouldn't have to be bias tape if it's stretchy, but make a strip to cover this. Press it in half, open it up, press the long edges to the center where that press line is now, press that, and then press it in half again. That's how you make bias tape. There's a ton of YouTube tutorials on it, you can check them out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our bias tape. I'm just using some pre-made woven bias tape. I know it's not ideal, but for the purpose of this tutorial, okay, so bias tape. What you want to do is attach it to your neckline seam. And in a perfect world, I mean, or a regular person's world, you won't be using black serger thread on a light colored garment. Anyway, you're going to attach this to the neckband seam from the top side this time. I forgot that very important detail. Starting just past one shoulder seam and going to the other. You're going to make sure that you are stitching just along that edge, or even a little bit past it. But be careful because you could alter your neckline and get it all wonky and stuff. So just be very, very careful doing that. At the end of the day, if a little bit is showing, it's not the end of the world, because it's probably better than it was and no one's really gonna notice. So I'm gonna do this the right way now, and then I will show you how it turns out the right way. So now you can see what I did. So I stitched from the top of the neckband, like the top seam when it's laying down, in that crease there, along, and I made sure that I was, well, I tried to be on the top side of my serge seam so that none of this would show when I flip it over. Again, I'm not too worried about it. If you were trying to be really careful, well, then probably the next method is going to be for you, but this will be just fine. So now that we have it like that, we're going to flip it over, and at this point you can either baste it down so that it lays nicely, or you can just go ahead and flip your neckband up, press this all down, pin it and everything, and then top stitch from the back with matching thread. I'm going to use what's in my machine, partly for the purpose of this video, but more so because I don't feel like changing it. I can't even get to my threads right now because my drawer is stuck, and yeah, I'm rambling. Anyway, we're going to do that. You could, this tail at the end here, you might want to leave longer and tuck it in before you stitch the first step down. So let's do that. Now there's a couple things you need to make sure of when you're doing the top stitching. You want to be using a stretch stitch if you're using knit, because that neckband obviously has a lot of stress on it. Second thing is you want to make sure that you are in fact catching that bias tape. So if it's a little bit short on the inside and close to that seam, you need to be further out. And then the other thing is just try and keep it straight, and it might not happen, but don't fret too much. There. So better in some spots than others. I do think this is the hard way to do things, so I am definitely taking my sewing practice to a more slow, intentional place, and a way of doing that is by doing things right the first time. So having to come back and do something like this, which isn't necessary, you could just top stitch this down, the seam down, but I wanted to be able to do this the first time around, which is why I'm going to show you now how to include a finish while you're constructing the garment. Okay, so I am constructing a new garment, a t-shirt, and I have the shoulder seams connected, and I have my neckband quartered as well as the neckline of the shirt. So normally you would attach this, you know, as normal. What we're going to do to include a seam finish is I'm going to use some grosgrain ribbon. I mean, you can use bias tape here. Again, preferably a strip of matching fabric to whatever you're making, but there's a lot of options. Grosgrain ribbon is nice because it has a finished edge, so you don't have to like fold it under or anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this on as normal, right sides together. And this is going to ensure that you don't have those seams sticking out, the threads and everything. It's going to give a nice clean finish. So again, clipping this on. Okay, so now that we have that attached, we're going to also add the ribbon. And we're going to add it on the top side of the neckband. And you can start at basically at your quarter points, just past the shoulder seam. And we're going to kind of just leave it like that, and then we will align it as we go because we have to stretch the neckband. So if we were to clip this just to the neckband, I mean, it doesn't stretch. If you're using a similar fabric, I guess you could do that, but I still recommend just using a long piece, leaving it long, and then we cut it off after. So I'm going to take this to my serger and I'm going to serge this all along here, stretching the neckband but not anything else, and then I will come back and show you what that looks like after. Okay, so I have that attached and that's kind of what it looks like there. I know, hard to see because I actually use proper colors. So I ended up, when I serged around and then came back, I clipped my serger tail inside of where the ribbon is going to fold over so that it will be hidden and I don't have to like tuck tails or anything. So now we're going to do the same technique that we did on the other one where we fold the ribbon under, and then I'm going to baste it on there and then top stitch it down from the right side. Okay, so I've basted it down in this contrasting color, and now I'm going to fold the seam down and top stitch from the right side. In terms of the ends of your ribbon or your bias tape or whatever you're using, you can leave it longer and fold it under if you wish. If you're using something that frays a lot, I would highly recommend that, as well as cutting it on the bias. If you're using a piece of knit that matches your garment, then I think you would be fine without it. And it just depends, I guess, on who is going to be wearing this and, you know, how you like to finish things. So now I'm going to top stitch along this in a navy thread. Again, making sure I'm using a stretch stitch and catching the edge of that seam. I am going to rip out that basting thread, but there's what it looks like from the outside, the right side. And I guess if you want to look at like some of your ready to wear clothes and see kind of how they do it, I know a lot of them go down the shoulder seam as well, and then you wouldn't have like a top stitching close, like just starting and stopping in a random spot. So you can do that if you want. The inside is pretty good. There's a lot of spots where I could have been closer to the edge, but all in all, I am happy with that. And I think it just gives another level of finish, and it's a way to just add a little bit more care into your makes and level up your sewing game. All right, so here's how they turned out. This was the first option where this garment had already been constructed and they added the bias tape after. Keep in mind that in a perfect world, we would have color matched. I would have color matched the thread and the bias binding, ideally the serger thread as well, but in this example, they are not. So it would look a little better if the thread colors were all matched. But overall, a nice clean finish compared to what it was before. And then this is the second way we did it, where we added the ribbon as we were making the neckband, and again, this probably would have looked better with either matching like the same fabric or actually bias tape. I don't really like the way that this ribbon finished. It just kind of got stretched out or something. I'm really not sure. Almost looks like fake leather or something on there. But, and again, it's not pressed or anything yet. This is just for this video, but it does leave a nice clean finish and you don't see the serger seams on the back. But again, I do want to mention there is nothing wrong with just top stitching that serger seam, or if you don't have a serger, your zigzag and seam allowance, there's nothing wrong with just stitching that down on the front or just leaving it. It just totally depends what you want and the kind of finish you're going for, who it's going to be for, etc., etc. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful for you. Leave me a comment below if you want to see more kind of stuff like this, like finishing techniques, and give this video a like and a thumbs up, and I'll catch you on Monday. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.